It's 1837. Your name is Hong Xiuquan, but let's just call you Hong for simplicity's sake. You're 25. The Qing Dynasty was in its final stage, and you will soon be the one that gave it the final push. That year, you went to Guangzhou, the capital city of your province, to take the imperial exam for the third time. You know, the exam that, if passed, would allow you to become an imperial official and get filthy rich by exploiting the people. Yet you failed, again, because you really suck at this. As you were about to head home, you came across this weird guy who wanted to introduce you to Christianity. Young man, do you want to learn about Christianity? Cristiano Ronaldo? What's that? No, Christianity. It's really cool stuff. Now take this book, go home, and read about it. You took the book he gave you, called Good Words to Admonish the Age, which is basically a dummy's guide to the Bible. But you weren't interested in Cristiano Ronaldo or the Bible, you just wanted to pass the exam. So you threw the book under your bed and started preparing for your fourth try. A few days later, you got struck by a high fever. Your family said you were unconscious for 40 days. Was it really that long? No matter, what's important is that you had a weird dream. You went to heaven and saw a serious-looking, bearded old guy in a golden robe and a tall hat. He told you that he's Jehovah, the one and only true God of the world, and you are his second son. He then introduced you to your older brother, Jesus, and your sister, your mother, and your sister-in-law whose names you don't quite remember. God said the reason why China is suffering is because its people don't believe in him. Instead, they worship this loser, Confucius. They even spent years preparing for the so-called imperial exam that's based on his teaching. So your job, as God's second son, is to purge China of Confucius' sinister influence, and more importantly, the Qing Dynasty that upheld him as a saint. You woke up and said to yourself, man, that's crazy, and went back to studying for the exam. 6 years later, you went to Guangzhou to take the exam for the fourth and last time, and you failed. Again. That's it. You had enough. There must be something inherently wrong with the system that you kept on failing. You suddenly remember the weird dream you had, and that strange book about Cristiano Ronaldo. You rushed back home and took the book from under your bed, and man, didn't it match everything you had dreamed. Sure, it doesn't mention that you're the second son of God, but hell, God himself told you so. What does the book know? Alright, screw the imperial exam. Now your job is to convert all of China to Christianity and overthrow the evil Qing Dynasty. But first, you need to start a church, which you decide to call the God-worshipping Society. What a nice name. Very straightforward. Okay, now you're ready to spread God's message. After some effort, you successfully converted your two cousins and one old classmate. You sprinkled some water on their foreheads and now they're good Christians. The four of you then trashed the Confucius statue in the local school where you used to teach, but your fellow villagers thought you had gone mad and kicked you out. No matter, you'll go to Guangzhou to spread God's words. Never mind. The people there thought you were crazy too. But then you heard there's this guy named Isaac Roberts preaching Christianity in the city. What a strange name, and he's from this country called America that you've never heard of. But hey, it's always good to meet a fellow Christian, and maybe he can give you an actual Bible to replace the Timu version you've been using this whole time. So, you went to his church and he gave you a real Bible, but he became really mad and asked you to leave when you told him you were the second son of God. Stupid Guailo, he must be jealous. You decide to try your luck in Guangxi, a province like yours, except much poorer and its people much more combative. It's 1849 and there's a famine going on, thanks to the corruption of the Qing Dynasty and bad weather, probably. The people were fed up and had taken up arms against the government. Great! There's no better place to spread your religion. You went from door to door, telling people that if they join your little society, God will help you crush the Qing Dynasty and everyone can get a big piece of land and never have to starve again. And boy, didn't that work. Soon, you gathered a force of 20,000 strong and crushed the local government with ease. But you didn't do this alone. In fact, you had little to do with it. It turned out that you not only suck at exams, you're also pretty terrible at commanding an army, running logistics, and things in general. But lucky you had some great generals. Actually, you had 5, and in 1851, You and your generals conquered a small city called Yong'an. You decided to set up shop there and upgrade your little society into something grander. Let's just call it Taiping Tianguo, the very peaceful heavenly kingdom. You proclaimed yourself the Heaven King and gave yourself the title the 10,000-year-old, because that's the title the Qing Emperor also used. And Yang, your second in command, who's been running the show this whole time because you're just a glorified figurehead, he shall be the East King, the 9,000-year-old. As for the rest, Xiao, the West King, 8,000-year-old, Feng, the South King, 7,000-year-old, Wei, the North King, 6,000-year-old, and Shi, well, he joined too late and you've run out of directions, so he would just be the Side King, 0,000-year-old, LOL. Yang said you needed a more proper capital, and he had his eyes on Nanjing, a rich city located in a very strategically important position. So you and your army went north, and the Qing Dynasty was so weak that its governors kept on committing suicide after losing to your mighty force, although Feng, the South King, got blasted to pieces by a cannonball in a battle. You were very sad. You liked Feng. He's the old classmate who joined your religion from the start. Then, Xiao, the West King, also got blasted to pieces by a cannonball. Haha, screw him! Because one time, at a meeting, he suddenly started twitching and rolling his eyes like crazy. He claimed to be Jesus and demanded everyone kiss his ass, and this happened 120 times. You knew he was faking it, but you couldn't exactly call him out. It ruined the credibility of your religion. But damn, how come you didn't think of it first? And wait, it got worse. Yang, the East King, claimed he was God himself. Oh well. In 1853, your army took Nanjing, thanks to Yang's brilliant command. Nice! Now you have a big and beautiful city as your home base. Yang then sent 20,000 people to take Beijing, the Qing Dynasty's capital. Time to finish these Manchu devils once and for all. Well, they got annihilated. But hey, the emperor panicked and locked down the city, which caused massive inflation. Great success! Yang then conquered more territory in the west, greatly expanding your kingdom. Time to enjoy life after all that hard work which you totally had nothing to do with. But wait, remember you promised your followers that they get their piece of land and no longer have to starve? No problem. You divided up the land in your kingdom, and everyone just has to hand over the surplus crops that they can't eat. Promise made and promise kept. Okay, now people are complaining about the gender segregation system. You see, lust is the greatest of all sins in your religion, and it has nothing to do with you being rejected by girls back in the day. Lust is just gross. Yikes. Therefore, your followers must live in segregated camps. Men in the male camp, women in the female camp. And if a couple dare meet in secret, and God forbid, have sex, they'll be executed. For example, the West King, may he rest in pieces, beheaded his own parents because they met without permission. What a good lad. Now you hate him less for pretending to be Jesus. What if a dad wants to see his daughter or a mom wants to see her son? Well, they can always meet in the city square, but they need to stand 10 meters apart and shout out the things they want to say to each other. And whoops, people have noticed that you have 88 wives. But that's not double standard. You've already explained to them that although you are all equal before God, some are just more equal than others, and you are the equalist of all. They don't look fully convinced, but they don't know how hard it is to have 88 wives. First, you need to give them numbers, because nobody can remember all those names. And second, you need to beat your wives every now and then so they know their place. For example, number 3 stared at you for too long, slap. Number 17 looked depressed, which ruined your mood, slap. Number 59 talked to you with the wrong tone, double slap. And number 42 just told you dinner's ready. Good, you do feel hungry after all that slapping. It's really tough work. But first, music. Because how can anybody eat without their personal orchestra playing in the background? And here comes your 24-course meal. 6 dishes of birds, 6 dishes of mammals, 6 dishes of fish, and 6 dishes of vegetables, neatly arranged on 24 golden platters. What a healthy, balanced, and totally not wasteful meal. But wait, you've been summoned by Yang, the East King, because he just relieved a siege by the Qing army of your city. Bastard! Just because he's doing everything, it doesn't mean he can treat you with disrespect. Has he forgotten that you're the glorified figurehead? So now you hop on your supersized sedan chair to meet him because walking is for peasants. Speaking of which, there are 64 of them carrying you, and could they walk any slower? Finally, after 10 long minutes, you're there. And great, Yang is twitching and rolling his eyes like a madman, which means he's pretending to be God again. And now he's asking you to kneel? Bastard, he will pay for this. Oh, my son, the Heaven King, call me Daddy. Well, he's God right now, so you don't have a choice. Just play along. Daddy? Why you summoned me? Stupid boy. Because you've been treating Yang, the East King, too unfairly. Tell me, who defended the city against the Qing devils? My God, Yang did. Then how come Yang is only 9,000 years old, while you, useless boy, are 10,000? From now on, Yang shall also be 10,000 years old. What about his sons? Yang's sons shall also be 10,000 years old. Good boy. Now I return to heaven. Bye-bye. Alright, now Yang pretends to wake up and asks you what happened. It'll only be a matter of time before he decides to move against you. So later that night, you wrote to the North King, Wei, asking him to rush back to the capital with his army to take Yang out. And he doesn't like Yang, alright? In fact, nobody did, as Yang was a certified asshole to everyone. What? Wei killed Yang's entire family, wiped out his army, and over 20,000 people were killed? And now the Qinghai River that runs through your city is filled with blood? Oh, the Side King, Shi, just returned and he's very mad at Wei for killing so many people. What? Wei killed Shi's entire family too? And Shi escaped, gathered a giant army, and is right outside the city? And Wei's now trying to kill you too because you criticized him a little? Oh, thank God the other generals killed him in time. He crazy. Oof. In the end, you ask Shi to take charge of your kingdom, but he's doing too good a job and is getting too popular. That's offensive. So you replaced him with your two brothers, and they kinda messed things up. This made Shi so mad that he took his 100,000 strong army and left. They later got destroyed in Sichuan by the Qing forces, who had become much better trained. Well, that was your last elite force, and things quickly went downhill from there. It's now May 1864. You've lost all the territories you gained in the past 15 years, and your city is under siege again. There's no food left, so you grab some mud from the ground, roll it into a ball, and tell your followers it's the food that God sends you. You take a bite. It tastes awful. And then you drop dead after days of starving. The movement you started is called the Taiping Rebellion, the deadliest civil war in human history. Close to 100 million people died as a result. Don't ever do that shit again.